Merry meet, Annie here. I feel like saying I'm late for a very important date. I am a bit late with last week's YouTube Pagan Challenge, which is the good thing about having a challenge, meeting it as close as possible. And if I remember, I'm going to look it up because I don't think I remember exactly how it was phrased. What does this time of year mean to you? I'll tell you one thing it means. I'm confused. I'm as confused as the land I live on. We have had such an odd winter this winter. This is usually the time of year that winter is hitting us at its most powerful. And we did have a burst of it, but in general, we've only had a small taste of winter this year. So while psychologically I was in winter, doing my shadow work and withdrawing and contemplating, physically, it was an extended autumn. It's confusing. It's confusing not only for me, but it's confusing for the animals who are not doing the things that they usually do at the certain times they do things. An example is today, the sky is filled with migrating geese. Who appear to be doing what they usually do in December, which is fly over us, headed south. Thousands and thousands and thousands of them the last couple of days. And I think what's happened is areas north of us are finally getting hit with a wham of winter, and it's triggered the movement of some of these migrating birds. These were so high up I couldn't tell if they were Canada geese or snow geese. I am pretty sure, because of the amount of them, that they were snow geese. And we had crocus bloom here. Three weeks ago, usually, they bloom close to Ostara, and then they got snowed on. And then it went back to warm again, so they're all back to being vivid again. In a way, I am as confused as the land I live on, because we are just now settling into, with the weather pattern for this extended 7 days, finally acting very much like winter, at a time at which, with the lengthening days, it's usually starting to feel like that reminder that spring is coming. So it's been an interesting time to relate to the land, because the land seems very out of whack this year. Otherwise, what's this time of the year feel like to me? Well, it's the season of Imbolc now. I'm not going to go into detail on this video about my take on Imbolc. I think I've done 3 different videos in the past on Imbolc, and I'll have links to them in the comment box. Imbolc, to me, begins on the eve of Imbolc and runs right up to Ostara. So it's not a once and done experience for me. I live the seasons of the Sabbats, not just the night. So those videos go into detail what I explore and spend time with during the length of the season of the Sabbat. This year in particular, which I will address for this video, the power of making the declaration I am is very much how I'm feeling at this time of the year. I envision my goddess this time of year independent of her responsibilities, in the sense that it's her opportunity to be free and wild and be the lady of the greenwood, to be going about the business of experiencing the world fully from her personal perspective, experiencing herself to the maximum. That's what my God is doing this time of the year too. Simply going with his instincts and being, not being in relation to others. Just being true to his singular, solitary nature and exploring what that means. And that's very much what the season of Imbolc has been so far for me this year. Things have changed a lot for me in the last 3 years. Retiring from the working world and moving to a new place, how I self-identify has changed a bit because I react differently in my life because I am in a completely different environment and with completely different surroundings and people. The thing that I enjoy most about this time of the year is a sacred selfishness that's part of the process of the Wheel of the Year for me. That there is a time in the period in the lives of our gods that provide us examples, and also in our lives, that we can revisit once a year or any time. This is a time when we explore fully who we are, separate from who we are to others, our expectations of others or their expectation of us. This year for me started with, at Imbolc, at last full moon, not at Imbolc, at the last full moon in January, an exercise all done on this piece of paper where I made as many declarations as I possibly could that completed the statement, I am. It's an exercise I've done regularly. Some of the things that I am are powerful and affirmative. I'm either quite proud of myself for them, or I realize they're part of my better or my higher self. Others are things that aren't aligned to my higher self. They're the things that, well, in some cases I honestly would like to change about myself. They are the things that I feel hold me back from being authentically who I am. There may be a label I take on to serve the needs of others that doesn't genuinely reflect who I am. Or they express emotions, the state of emotion that I'm in at the moment, and that I feel I'd be better served coming at differently. So I begin with that period as I begin the eve of Imbolc with I am, and making a declaration to myself and therefore to the universe of the ways I would describe myself. And this exercise is tricky because the goal is to describe oneself independently of relationships to others. Relationships to others certainly slipped in to my list, things like daughter, because my parents are still alive, friend and wife, other names that would align me to others in my life. But I made declarations about myself that I was curious and I was fiery, I was strong, I was hesitant, I was grateful, I was frightened, and a lot of other words that described me. So, what's this time of the year feel like for me? Coming out of the quiet time, reflecting, journeying, going within. It is about acknowledging what I found of myself there. It's going to be, in the maturation of this season of Imbolc, deciding what to make of that. The promises I'll make going into the future of that. But at the moment it is an honest, aligned to the seasons, bare-boned, bare-limbed, no frills, no greenery, no softening of the landscape. That bluntly honest take on who I am. What I glory in, as well as what holds me back. So what's this time of year mean to me? Getting back to my bones. Getting back to me that doesn't have its verdant cape of personality and responsibility to others and identities aligned to others. But who this is, what I carry within this shell, that is me. And it's the beginning of a consideration of that shell as a seed of something which is going to bloom and blossom as this season of Imbolc matures and then gets to greet the arrival of Ostara. To me, it's about self-exploration, self-honesty, in a way healthy self-criticism, a declaration in the way of embrace of the parts of me that I'm taking into the growing time of the year. But it's also an opportunity before that time to do a last weeding out of what will keep me from flourishing in the next season, the season of Ostara. So while you can read specifics of what I think about Imbolc, the holiday in specific, in the 3 videos I'll link you to. This Imbolc, I'm very much feeling the virgin and the maiden and the individual who is whole and complete within herself and is exploring for the umpteenth time what that means and then what I might make of it. I wish you all birth and reverence, merry part,